Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to continue my conversion from my summer annual flowers and perennials over to my winter garden here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Zone 7B. Down here in Zone 7, 8, and 9, we can have a lot of color through the winter time. An example of that are these annual Dianthus that I'm going to be planting out here at the entryway at the road in between my fence that I had constructed earlier in the year. I'm going to convert this entryway to kind of a permanent annual bed, so I'm going to amend it with some pine bark and some compost. And so these Dianthus will be here until about May, mid-May, and then I'll convert it to summer flowers next year. I don't want to confuse people on Dianthus. There are perennial Dianthus. These are annual Dianthus that work great in the wintertime here in the south. They probably would, up in Zone 5, go through the summer, but down here they burn out. But they perform great for us through the winter months. From here, I'm going to do I've got some ornamental kale, I've got some snapdragons, got some pansies, some other things going in. So I'm going to prep this real quick by pouring a generous amount of pine bark soil conditioner and the compost. I'm going to mix that in with my shovel and then put these Dianthus in maybe about 4 to 5 inches apart, something like that. This little spot along the edge of my turf is going to get some white pansies and some purple kale. The kale will, I got a good deal on these little 9 packs of kale. We haven't had any cool nights yet, so the color is not showing up in them very much yet, but the center of these, there's actually a row of white and a row of purple in these. These are going to be purple kale and then the white pansies. Don't undervalue white pansies in the wintertime. These things can really pop and show up in the landscape, especially if you have other evergreen shrubs and things. If you get a couple, honestly, if you get a couple 6-packs of white pansies and you have a row of green shrubs and you put those white pansies in front of those green shrubs, you can see them from a mile away. So again, don't undervalue white as a color in the garden. But again, right here along this turf, I'm just going to add the pine bark soil conditioner. I'm going to mix it in just a little bit, and these kale will thrive through the winter time, and the pansies in this narrow space along my turf. Next up is a spot right here next to the front steps that I had already mixed pine bark and compost in last year pretty generously. So here I just need a small amount of one or the other to just kind of refresh it a bit. This salvia is still blooming heavily here, and I don't want to cut it back yet. So I'm just going to, for now, use this pitchfork and just kind of slide them out of the way so I've got some room to work in here. These stones that are along the edge are for the water hose to just kind of travel along to not decapitate the annuals that go into this bed. This is going to be some pansies in the front, and then I've got some Swiss chard that I did from seed, you'll see in the back. And by the way, I'm going to go back around this whole, all of these spots that I'm showing you and show you all of them in a walkthrough at the end of the video here. So you're not missing anything. I'm going to pour some of little of my bark in here. If you can't find pine bark soil conditioner, you can just use compost and mix it in, and you can each time you do it, you'll improve that space a little bit more. I've talked about several times in these annual planting videos that I don't treat the rest of the soil in my landscape like this. I'm just mainly doing this because I want to get as much out of these annual plants as I can, because they've got such a short season with them. But I do have irrigation here, so I'm kind of being careful not to break that. I have one break in it already back here I got to repair this morning. But that's it. Again, I figured I'd show it to you that time and talk through it. But I put some bark there. I mixed it in a little bit with the shovel, and now I'm going to plant. The camera's sitting on the middle of the driveway, and this is an elevated bed above the driveway. I'm probably 2.5 feet above it or so. This space I'm standing in was zinnias early in the year, and then lantana were planted underneath it, a hardy variety of lantana. And the lantana took over and was beautiful in this space, and now it's going to be these beautiful yellow snapdragons for the winter. These will bloom some during the winter, just like the Dianthus, but on the other side of winter, as the soil temperature starts to warm up, they'll just go bonkers and look absolutely fantastic. Again, this is a hardy variety of lantana. I have cut them back. It's not probably the best time of year to be cutting them back, but they're established enough that I'm pretty sure they'll come back next year. So my plan here is to have these snapdragons in place. They'll be looking fantastic through about mid-May. As they start to decline, this lantana should be coming back and will take over this space and bloom for the summertime. But I'm going to do the same operation in this spot. I'm going to put some pine bark soil conditioner out here. I'm not going to go crazy with the shovel in here because I'm trying not to kill these lantana, and I'm going to plug these snapdragons in. So that was step one for this spot. The snapdragons are going to go up here at the top, and then around this whole area through here is going to be some light blue pansies. That combo should look fantastic. These New Guinean patients still look okay, but we're getting a frost on Saturday night, so these are going to be liquid after that. And so I'm going to go ahead today and get these pansies along the front. So let's look at the other spots that I showed you. The area with the Dianthus is now a spot where I'm just going to turn over to annuals each season. So there was vinca out here a few weeks ago, looked great all summer. That's probably what will end up back in this spot. There is this little dwarf pine. Eventually it's going to get some height on it and take up some of that space, but there'll still be a little bit of space around it. Some other things out here are about to go to sleep real quick when we get a frost, including this Mexican sage right next to these. They're laying on top of it now, but another week this will be dying back. If we come in through the gate, not a gate, just an opening between the fence, right along the front inside area of the turf is where you saw those white pansies and that purple kale go into that spot. Still a lot of things out here going on. This Caryopteris, this first choice Caryopteris right there, still looks great, still blooming, still has pollinators on it during the day. But again, not long before we have a frost here. Coming back up toward the house, some other pansies had been put in along this area of the turf border, and this is what you saw me do this morning with the pansies and the Swiss chard. So I think it's coming along. These containers in the back had annuals in them, and once some of these other annuals come out or die back, those containers are now going to be able to be seen, and so that will be a separate video of updating lots of the containers that things are coming out of. And I have these interesting tree-formed and espaliered plants in a lot of these containers that need flowers around them for the winters, but you guys will see that when that comes up, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see those videos. Thanks for watching.